All right, y'all, we live. Y'all know how we do, man. Always pushing help, well, better understanding. So as y'all see, man, on the thumbnail, we're getting on Karen Bass. Y'all know I did a video on how they was giving out a 50K thousand grant to immigrants. I forget the name of that county, but go over a couple videos today about Karen Bass, the $50,000, and I'm gonna go over some indigenous Black American talk too. So without further ado, let's get it.
Hey, Karen Bass, can I ask you a question? We gonna talk about reparations though. We wait for you to mention about reparations. We ain't gonna mention that since you're doing things. That's the question I gotta ask though. We need you to start mentioning about reparations, Karen Bass.
Yes.
Hey, Karen Bass.
Y'all see how she ain't want to act the look how she looking. Like she already know that she don't know.
That's the question I gotta ask though. We need you to start mentioning about reparations, Karen Bass.
Yes.
Hey, Karen Bass. Hey, Mayor Karen Bass. Hold on a second. Hey, Mayor Karen Bass. When you gonna start mentioning about reparations?
You guys, she want to act like she on him.
We also are going to have a reinstitution of the Angelino card, something that Mayor Garcetti started during COVID, that will actually provide cash assistance to people. Because, you know, you have people who don't want to leave their homes, who are not going to work, and they are in need of cash.
But prior to the fire, the city was in serious financial trouble, and we've now learned a nearly $1 billion budget deficit could result in as many as 1,600 city employees losing their jobs.
So you mean to tell me you'd rather give 50K to immigrants that have been affected by ICE, knowing that you in a financial situation like this? It just don't make no sense, man. They getting that money from somewhere. They got to pay their employees. They feel like these immigrants are their employees, and they got to pay them.
I want to be straight with you. My proposed budget, unfortunately, includes layoffs, which is a decision of absolute last resort.
In addition to the layoffs, Bass has proposed eliminating 1,074 vacant positions, combining city departments, delaying capital projects, and lowering funding in the mayor's office.
Just when you
imagine being able to build anything just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
they cannot top themselves in the audacious idiocy.
Exactly. We're grasping for the words.
This is not apparently city money. It's coming from some
BS. Total BS. First of all, she doesn't know the exact number. I'll give Karen Bass an exact number: $1 billion. That's how much Los Angeles is in deficit under her mismanagement. $1 billion in deficit, but somehow she can find the money for this. They say it's not taxpayer money. Oh, it's non-profits and philanthropy. We all know what that looks like. That's how they...
We got to follow the book. They saying it's philanthropy. I don't want to hear that, man. They trying to pay these people and trying to make sure they get their money. Keep voting blue and keep pandering for them boss ladies to lead straight Black men. Yeah, that's tough for that to work. Right on.
They've been laundering money to pay for the organizations, the non-profits and philanthropies that have been organizing the riots against all this. They're stirring it all up. And then the reason that she gives, we got to hand out this money because people are frightened to go to work. Why are they frightened? Because she's whipping up fear because of the raids. Why do we have raids? Because she won't cooperate with ICE. Just as Tom Homan says, if they did cooperate, they wouldn't need to do this kind of enforcement operation. If the authorities in California did their job and enforce the law, none of this would be happening.
So how do we follow the money? If this is NGO money, which some have suggested it could be, and we don't have the proof yet.
Right.
But how do you follow this and find it? Because NGO money is taxpayer money when a lot of these NGOs get significant funding.
Exactly.
Sometimes most of their funding from the American taxpayer.
And by the way, it's all of the, I mean, those people are
So that's why they're trying to say, that's why we know it's something up, because they saying that this isn't from taxpayers, but it probably is in some kind of backdoor way. But they're saying it's from philanthropy. And y'all know on this channel, I go over the little hat guy, the big guy with the little hat. I always say his name, GS. He throws a lot of money. I don't know why he do this, but he throw a lot of money, and it's always to giving, trying to cause some type of disruption over here. But let them go.
Stood at the pot farm, including some of the weapons that were confiscated. We see the pictures, and you see the bag they were carrying the weapons in. It was from Gavin Newsom's administration, funded by Churla, the non-profit that's been whipping up the fear. Listo.
Cash assistance. They offering cash assistance to these people. I guess that's just like a tactic to go after Trump. Put the church giving them that, because you seen when Fannie Willis was in that Democratic Party, she was going
California, which is part of their own Department of Emergency Management. So we're paying for all of this.
The historic first female mayor of Los Angeles is under fire once again. Karen Bass, just a month ago during Juneteenth, she ignored a Black resident that questioned her about when she would invest in restorative justice for Black Americans. But now she's out here literally giving out reparations for illegal migrants impacted by the ICE raids, all while mismanaging the city into a $1 billion deficit. She's got no money to balance the budget, yet they've managed to allocate funds for non-citizens.
She's like Kamala Harris. This what it would have been looking like. She's an example of what would have happened, bro. She's tied into Kamala. So we would have had something similar to what they got in LA all over the world, bro. Kamala would have got in office. I showed y'all seen the thumbnail. She, Kiki Ken, dapped up, gang ties with Kamala. So can you imagine that this being all over the world?
Meanwhile, Black residents have been increasingly displaced from California for years. We're going to get into it, but first, take a second to make sure you're subscribed to the channel and click the notification bell for all updates. Won't waste any time. Let's go ahead and jump into it.
Californians, have you heard the new slogan for elected official who continues to help illegal aliens? If you have not heard, I'm about to tell you. Hold up, get a pen, write it down. It goes like this. Californians, help me, help you destroy your city, your town with your tax-paying money. Here is one of the clear examples how they're doing it. LA County Mayor Karen Bass woke up yesterday, decided she had a bright idea, and this is what they're going to do for illegal immigrants. LA will provide cash assistance to migrants affected by the raids.
I think it's time that Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom, they get arrested. This has to be treason. And I don't know all the legalities and the details of it, but this has to be treason. They're aiding and abetting illegal aliens to hide out in our country so they don't have to get deported.
I don't know if y'all heard this news, but they didn't waste no time issuing cash payments to undocumented immigrants in California. Yes, Karen Bass said that she's issuing out cash cards to immigrants sometime early as next week with hundreds of dollars on those cash cards. And how they're getting to these immigrants through activists. Immigrant activist groups are going to personally deliver it to over 900,000 undocumented immigrants. Where are they getting this cash from? Knowing that California is on a $12 billion budget deficit. California has a $12 billion budget deficit. Where are they getting all this money from?
So I'm sure by now everyone has heard that, Bass, the mayor of Los Angeles, she's going to be giving out the prepaid cards for a couple $100 to the undocumented immigrants that have been affected by the raids. And while I would be pissed, like if I was a California resident, I would be pissed off. Like, you know how high it is in California? Be extremely pissed off. No one is asking the questions that I think that they should be asking. Case in point, when she didn't specify who where the money is coming from. She just said it's not in the it's not coming from the budget. It's coming from organizations. What organizations? Give us the names of the organizations. Give us how much they donated. Give us the dollar amount. I don't think people are asking the right questions because if she if someone were to ask her, who was the donor? But can you give us the name? I'm sure we can't do that this time. It sounds like to me they're shuffling some funds around, because if it was me, if I was a taxpayer in California, I would be saying, what's the name of the organizations?
All right, this is for the admins out there. With Navan, you get the ease of allowing employees to book on their own.
One of the most frustrating parts of all of this is the way Black faces are used to gain the trust of Black Americans, only for those same so-called Black leaders to work against the interests of Black people once in power. Karen Bass is a prime example. While she presents herself as a representative of the people, her actions consistently show otherwise. During her time in the Congressional Black Caucus and now as mayor of Los Angeles, she has repeatedly failed to do anything to support the needs of Black American residents. Instead, she channeled city resources toward non-citizens, all while the city fell deeper into financial crisis and Black Americans continue to be pushed out and ignored. Karen is just one piece of a whole system. It's part of
Same thing what that other lady did out there in Chicago. Tiffany Henyard. All of Kamala Harris, all of them is like, I don't know what's going on, but it seems like they take advantage of the people.
a larger pattern we've seen from members of the California Legislative Black Caucus and other so-called leaders who were elected, and they serve on boards to supposedly fight for Black Americans on the national level, the state level, and the city level, but instead have enriched themselves, aligned with established politics, and consistently sidelined Black Americans.
Sure.
Gavin Newsom and others in leadership have made it clear what their objectives are. And Gavin, we know what you did last summer. No, we didn't forget about what happened last year. I covered it then, and the link is below for those who want to revisit it. As for Karen Bass, her latest actions only reinforce what many of us have already seen. I'm talking about token representation used as a shield while policies continue to leave Black Americans behind. Let's go ahead and get the conversation started. Karen Bass ignored Black Americans, but now she's providing cash payments, basically reparations, to illegals impacted by ICE raids. Tell me what you think about this below.
So we know what side she playing on. We know what she trying to do. But yeah, it's treason. It's definitely treason with what they doing to the people. But we already know she couldn't even answer the question when old boy was asking her. Now, I don't know if y'all seen this clip with just the misinformation that's going on about indigenous Americans. I want to play this little clip and let y'all hear why they got this African narrative on this.
Numerous times refer to Africans in America as so-called African Americans,
Yeah.
right? Or so-called Black people. You say it all the time, but I never heard you explain. Please explain. What do you mean by so-called African Americans or so-called Black people?
So-called Black people. Black is the color of my hair. Black is the color of this watch band. Black is the color of the hoodie you got on. So of course we're not those colors. We are brown, we're copper, we're bronze, we're brown people. That's our pigmentation. That's the color of our melanin. So that's why I say so-called Black, because Black is the color of our Crayola. Black is the color of our crown. We're not the color of a crown. We're copper skinned people. The reason why I say so-called African Americans, because not all, but 98% of the so-called Africans that's in America are not African at all. We actually are indigenous to this land and we come from this land. So we have to quit acting like that all life started in Africa. No, all life stimulated everywhere. There have been Black people on every inch of this planet since the beginning of this earth. You know, so we have to understand that and really do the research. And when you really do that research and you travel the world, you will see that. When you go to Asia and you go to China, the first people there that are still there now that they have ran to the mountains was Asiatic so-called Africans. The only reason why they put African to anything that's Black, but that's not true. That's not true. Matter of fact, if you go to Africa, most of your African tribes don't even call that land Africa. They have another name for it. So where do we get this name from?
So, too, we got the oldest dated. Like, we can research our ancestry back than anybody else in the world. I mean, I ain't gonna say the world, but any people like in Africa or all of that. They can't even trace their. Some of them is like 1961. It's like they didn't have the facts. But he right, we was everywhere. But they try to pin us everybody back to Africa, saying like this is where you were from, so they could take the rest
You
of the
start saying
land.
that these names are named after conquistadors or people that go on quest and take over things. So the reason why I say so-called African Americans, I say African Americans because we identify as that as Black people in America. I say so-called because me personally, I am not a African. Now, am I saying that I'm not in a relation or my DNA doesn't match Africa? Of course, we all are family. The whole world was Black before white people were created. I want to keep that clear. Everything was.
And do not believe all of these sites they scamming too. Oh, I want to know my history, and they tell you something, and all of them got Africa, because how they even giving out the information, they already is biased towards thinking that everybody came from Africa anyway. So it's like you can go on some of this stuff. I never did it, but they could just be trying to sell you something that make it sound good to you.
Indigenous. You have indigenous people of African lands. You have indigenous people of American lands. You have indigenous people of Asian lands. You have indigenous people of European lands. The indigenous people of European lands was called the Moors. They call it the Dark Ages. Why do they call it the Dark Ages? Because it was ran and controlled by dark people before white conquistadors came and became oppressors over their land. So everywhere on earth,
the Black people that ruled that land too, they was ruling it way longer. It was like thousands and thousands and thousands of years, not like how they've been taking over right now. They've really been running it for like a long period of time. But yeah, AB, stay with the wind. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. They did something where they gave a frog DNA to the ancestry, and it came back that the frog had African, all kind of weird stuff. It's like, bro, that stuff's so cap, bro. They just making money, making you feel like I don't know what they doing, but I did hear a story about that dog. I mean, about the frog DNA they sent, and it was like had all of this craziness. No, please don't send them people your DNA. For real, bro. Them people probably see that you got certain kind of class of DNA and want to throw you off. Cause
even in Australia,
they they did a lot of breeding and mixing with races too. Like people don't know that it's a book called I can't think of the name of it right now, but they did a lot of like they're saying the people in Mexico are a mixed breed of like Philippine or something. So back in the days, they did a lot of breeding to get. It was called eugenics. The eugenics of humans, where they tried to make certain humans have certain characteristics to benefit, whatever place on the world. It's just crazy stuff that was going on, but they ain't mess with the blacks' blood like that. So
Australia, you have the Aborigines. So everywhere you go on earth, there's a so-called black melanated being that originated there first. All life did not start in Africa. Many people are now starting to talk about that. There's a bunch of literature and stuff that's now widely spread at talking about these things. And America is one of the most ancient, oldest civilizations in the world. We have some of the oldest pyramids in the world. We have some of the oldest sphinx in the world. We have some of the oldest literatures and writings in the world. America is the ancient old world. And we can do a debate on this. We can talk about it. Anybody want to sit down and go through the literature?
That's exactly what I've been saying, bro. America is the spot. So them people in Africa should be calling themselves African American because we're the ones. It shouldn't be the other way around. Their ancestry come from us. We had more pyramids, and then our people came over to Egypt and put them on, and put the Egypt game and put the pyramid there. We gave y'all we always been the leaders and everything, but for some reason you want to tie us to, just so they have power. We know the real play behind this, but let me let Yahweh keep cooking.
We can. I'm all game for it because I'm that confident in the research and the stuff that I did. The Grand Canyon is one of the oldest oldest temples and civilizations of people, of ruins that have been left behind. And a lot of stuff in the Grand Canyon have been carbon dated, and it's carbon dated back to be older than certain things that are in Africa. We have an actual pyramid 20 minutes from where I stay, is in Cahokia. It's in East St. Illinois. It's called the Cahokia Mounds, one of the most oldest pyramids in the world. The only other pyramid that I have found to be older than that is a pyramid in Mexico. But guess what? When you go to Mexico and you look at the populations around those pyramids, do you see Spanish people of light complexion? You see nappy-headed, dark-skinned people that speak good Spanish, because them are your original Mexicans. You can't go to no geographical location on earth that it wasn't melanated beings there first. Whether I'm talking about the Dominican Republic, I'm talking about Puerto Rico, I'm talking about.
Right. Dude gonna try to tell me in Puerto Rico, I'm telling them like it's a spot where it's like indigenous black people. We're everywhere, but people don't want to say that. They want to tie us to Africa because the land grab. They don't want to say we was everywhere, but we pretty much own all of the land. We were there first. We the ones who conquered it. So if it's not us running things, it's a scam already.
Cuba, South America, anywhere you go on the land, you're going to see black people there first. And then all other people come from us. And this is the truth. Science backed this up, biology backed this up, biochemistry backed this up. So when I say so-called African American, it's not to be derogatory towards African people. Them are our brothers and sisters. We are cousins through the genealogies of DNA and bloodlines. We are all connected. But
we're all connected, but we got the longest person here. So if anybody call them African American, we're here first. Like they came from us. So it's like, put that African American name on them, because they need to be tied to us. We the leaders. We're the ones, we're the aboriginals. So it's like, that's what I'm saying. Don't tie us to nobody else. It's disrespectful. It's like they have to be tied to us. We the ones. So we gotta switch this whole narrative of like, oh, the homeland, and they got to look at us like that. Like, we got the oldest dated DNA out there. We got the documentation, the people here, the pyramids. We got all that.
I don't come from Africa. My ancestry line don't come from Africa. I come from the Shabti tribe of Louisiana. I know the tribe I come from. I know the zone I come from. We Chickasaw Nation. I know my people. We are not African. We are indigenous to the Americas.
I was talking to a gentleman one time, and he was breaking down locally over here his ancestry, and he was showing pictures, but the pictures he showed me didn't look like traditional indigenous people that we see. They were all basically, they weren't fully black looking, but they weren't that light indigenous.
But then you got the $5 Indian too, where you got the Spanish conquistadors who came in and they made it amongst us on purpose to take over our identity in our land. So you see your typical older natives, they still got dark complexions, but you see them with straight hair and stuff. That's where integration and breeding came in at. And then after a lot of decades after that, you start seeing them.
Bro, they was breeding people just like they doing dogs right now. They're breeding certain bloodlines of dogs. They were doing this, eugenics, doing this for characteristics of people. That's how you got, they're trying to say like it's melanin in these kind of people, these different people, because they've been playing with the genetics.
Have the pointy nose, the long hair. Now they building teepees. We didn't build teepees, we built huts. So if you look at what they're doing and you see where they come from a different part of the world, but they migrated to the Americas, and now they got all the casinos, they getting all of these different, rewards from the government, but that all was to keep us out. The whole plot and plan is to create this mass transatlantic slave propaganda. Not saying that black people was not enslaved in America. We suffered from slavery. My great-great-grandma was actually in slavery. She used to tell me slavery stories. But that was the European man coming over here and taking their own land from them and making them work on their own land. We was already selling and trading cotton. I want to make that clear. They came over and took over our trading of cotton and our selling of cotton and put us in slavery in our own land. We are prisoners of war. It's a difference. We are more prisoners of war than slavery. That's why, for instance, a slave, that's a product. You make money off of it. You wouldn't castrate it because you would want it to make more slaves. We were castrated. You wouldn't burn hundreds of thousands of them alive. That's your product. Why would you destroy your product and make you more money? We were prisoners of war. They came to our land. They took over our land. The strong ones of us, they broke us mentally, and then they made us work on our own land. How you think we did the shit so good? We're the best cotton pickers because we was picking cotton before they came here. You see what I'm saying? So then they made it seem like it was this big mass transatlantic slave trade where millions of us came from Africa. Where's the boats? Where's the boats at? Like everything in history have evidence of the past. They done found pyramids in the sea. They done found Atlantis. They done found things in the Bermuda Triangle. They have explored a lot of the depths of the sea. Not saying that 100% of it was been explored, but majority of the sea have been explored, where they finding all these ancient relics showing us the past. Where are these slave ships? Now, if you research and you study shipwrecks, and if you study different things that was left in the sea, from here to the Caribbean islands and from here to all the other different islands, you will find relics of our people leaving from South America, going to these different islands. You will see that, but you won't find anything of significant amount of evidence that's coming from so-called Africa to America.
Teenagers are building businesses with AI while the only AI you know is ChatGPT.
Let's be real. You won't find it. Why? If we went through this big transatlantic slave trade, then where are the true stories coming down from my ancestors and coming down from my family? I'm very deep into my family. I know my family bloodline, where we come from. My grandma on my mama's side was full blood. I mean, on my father, on my grandpa's side, or my paternal side, full-blooded Cherokee. She used to chew tobacco. She had long ponytails. She used to give me buffalo quarters that's worth hundreds of thousands of dollars now. And I wish I would have kept them. But she was full-blooded Cherokee. She used to be in her full Cherokee regalia talking to her. I used to sit by her left hand, and she ended up getting like throat cancer because all she did was chew tobacco, ancient traditions of Indians in America. And she told me where she was from. My grandma, my great-grandma on my maternal side was full-blooded Choctaw, a Chaptay from Louisiana. So I did my gene. And then it's another thing. You have something called African ancestry, and guess what you got too? Indigenous native ancestry. Why is there two different blood tests? So I even think it's something going on with that, on what they're doing with these DNA tests that's automatically bringing us back to Africa. There was a test done where this dude, it was a white man. He said that he had a suspicion about them lying with the DNA test, and he sent the saliva of his lizard to ancestral.com. Did you know his lizard came back 34% Nigerian? I'm just saying. So man, all this propaganda, man. And look, I don't care if they mad at me or not. All I'm saying is research what I'm saying. I know it sounds taboo, but what happened if the biggest conspiracy in the history of lies happened? And that is that we are indigenous from America. We come from America. We don't come from Africa. Right. In order for them to take the precious treasures of America, which we have oil, we have gold, we have copper, we have all of that here. They act like all this is in Africa. All this is here too. What happened if it was to drive us out, connect us back to Africa, for we want to go back home, and while we going back to so-called home, we're leaving our home and they taking over our land? I'm just saying, when you really think about it, then look, what happened if the maps is flipped? Because from my understanding of my studies, Lebanon, Illinois was called Lebanon before there was a Lebanon over there. What about Israel here? What about Judah, or what you would call Utah? This is here. You start getting into these old names. There's a city out here called Morocco. These are different cities. And what about Memphis? Where's Memphis at? Memphis, Tennessee, that has one of the oldest pyramids here. It's a pyramid in Memphis right now. They didn't put glass over. That's a real pyramid. But then you have a Memphis over there, and where?
You playing right in our faces. For
what
real.
about Cairo? Cairo, Illinois. That's here in the Americas. So we have these different cities in these different states named after stuff that's in Africa. But when you do deep research and study, these was named that here before it was named that there. I'm saying we got to talk about. Then you think you got stuff like Milwaukee. That's an Indian tribe name. You know what I'm saying? Chattanooga, Tennessee. Chatta. That's an Indian name. So you start going, and then you got different sections in, because Missouri and Illinois is one of your most oldest places in the world where I'm from, one of your most oldest places, you got Chickasaw Street, you got Cherokee Street. And then you start seeing there's different museums around there that got all of our stuff in it, that got other people's faces on it. They have did this to the whole world, where they go around where ancient ancestral Black people come from. They will change the faces to them, and then they'll take our history. So my belief, my research, my study shows that we are in the oldest parts of the world, which is ancient America. We are not from Africa. I do believe that all people of melanin descent do have some type of ancestral and DNA connection, but we are not all the same people, and we don't all keep or hold the same traditions. And I believe a lot of islanders, like such as yourself, actually come from the lower Americas, and it actually was a ship's trade there, where a lot of y'all went from the South America to the islands, but it didn't happen the other way, where we all came by millions on this big ass boat, stacked on each other like sardines, came over from Africa, from a port called Yehuda, all the way over to the Americas. And I haven't found any evidence that truly suggests that. Now, can you tamper with evidence and make things look like something? Yes, that's why we all think we're from Africa when we not. And there is no coincidence that you don't only have African Americans, but you have African Australians. You have African this, African that. Why do they feel the need to keep putting that name on it? Because they're trying to make us subconsciously identify with a place that is not really our home. This is our home.
And I want you to clarify stuff for people that struggle with listening and hearing stuff, right?
Mhm.
So you believe the slave trade took place, but not to the magnitude that they say.
Exactly.
All
Yes.
right, I just want to clarify
No.
for those.
So
who
I do
struggle
believe I hate to call it slave trade. I would call it prisoner of war trade. I do believe that we took against our will and taking over water, not this vast amount of water, but over water, and went somewhere else to work for hire. Or to work for free, should I say. I don't think it came from Africa to the Americas. I believe it happened reverse, where we went to the Americas, to different islands and stuff like that. I do believe that. And the reason why is because you can find evidence of that. But as I really research, I can't find no really good hard evidence of, especially of the boats and stuff, of us coming from Africa to the Americas. And look, I'm willing to have a sit down and talk. And if I find that evidence, I will change my
Basically, he's saying that the original people that was discovered with the DNA came from the Americas, and it populated from there. Like, these people went out. So the people from this land migrated the most and did the most exploring and going out to other countries. So so this is why it's a big confusion. And a lot of people be looking at us crazy when we be saying this, because of they done sold the people so well that everybody believe now, it's like main
concept a little bit, but it's too much evidence to show that we originate from the Americas.
And one thing I want to clarify, people don't listen, fight. I just want to make sure I hear what you're saying, but I want to make sure people are hearing what you're saying.
Mhm.
Please clarify that the notion that so you believe Black people have an African origin, but they just been here longer. They didn't come directly from Africa. They came here at some point.
I was like, Russell, I'm so rich. He's like, you are? I was like, yes. I was like, you're rich.
No, I'm not saying that.
All right.
I'm saying, so this is what I don't believe we come from Africa at some point. I don't think that all life started in one geographical location. I believe that life originated from Earth simultaneously in different spots. Now we have to get into.
I see what you're saying now. All right,
yeah. But I believe that all of us, or I don't think somebody was born in Africa and then migrated millions and trillions of miles and
developed in different places.
I think man developed in different places, and I think the development of man in different places do come from the same DNA. That's why I say African brothers and sisters are my family. But we have different traditions. Even our physiological and our DNA structure is different from us in Africa. Like I did a whole seminar showing the biological difference, not only between so-called African Americans and Europeans, but so-called African Americans and African people. There's different physiological structures that's different. Now, people will argue and say, because the geographical location, we have adapted we have adapted in certain ways to survive in our environment. And I can agree with that to a certain extent. But still, the facts are the facts. So I'm saying that we originated in America, just like the Aboriginal Australians, the black people, so-called black people over there, they didn't come from Africa or the Americas. They originated in Australia. Same thing as the Asians, who they call Asiatic, Afro-Asiatics. I don't think that they came from Africa. It's too much stuff, evidence showing. And I can do another seminar on this. It's too much evidence showing that they originated there. I think we, what they call it, spontaneous or simultaneously, were created in different parts of the earth for a reason. Now you have to get into hybrid and gene selection. You just go back deep into the Anunnaki. It's all the same story. All the same story that comes. Yeah, but this all goes back to the same biblical story, whether it's biblically, whether we talking about the Egyptian scrolls, the Anunnaki scrolls, all these different scrolls talk about a mass creation everywhere on earth. It don't, only time I see where it talks about in one part, Eastern and Eden, that's talking about the Bible. And then even when you get into that literature, I speak and read fluent Hebrew. Eden was the whole world. Eastern and Eden.
All right, y'all, my cameraman started tripping. It ain't even let me back on. So I'm rocking with y'all here. I just wanted to bring some points. But yeah, my camera tripping, but this about to go
was over there in Mesopotamia. So man, look, we can talk. Look, I do this for real. That's what I'm saying. So people gonna get on here and cuss me out and have crazy comments. All I'm asking is, before you do that, just study the whole matter. There.
So basically what he said is, just like we saying, man, the people ain't, my camera just not like that. But he's basically saying that we've been from here. If anybody they need to tie to America, I mean to a land, it needs to be this land. But I like what he's saying. He's saying life probably started in different places. So if it wasn't just in one place, it was all good. It didn't just have to be just one place. But I'm still standing on our people, our generation, our lineage right here. Yeah, y'all, my camera went. I don't know what's up with my camera, but yeah, that's what I have for y'all for today, man. Yeah, they are similar to Europeans. Lately, you was going in tonight. Shout out to everybody who was in the chat. We'll open up the lines for y'all. We can open up the lines, but yeah, this was a good one. Let me see if anybody want to call in before I. Maybe y'all got a little bit more info than me, but yeah, Karen Bass ain't giving us our dang reparations to the people that's the land. I had to show why we're here, like we're the owners. I ain't gonna say we the owners. We are the owners of it. But y'all can hit me up, man, if y'all wanna give a take before I wrap it up. I don't know what's going on with my. That out, but